Electronics are a popular present for most guys during the holidays. For me, pretty much any new gadget or software you can buy at Best Buy will make me happy. Bob Brackett likes new gadgets and technologies too, but not the kind you find at your typical electronics store. Welcome to the Knife and Fork Show. I'm Jason Huffman, Editor-in-Chief of Food Chemical News. Joining us again is Bob Brackett, Director of the Illinois Institute of Technology's Institute for Food Safety and Health. As I mentioned in the previous episode, Bob worked 8 years at FDA, including 3 years as head of the Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition. Bob, tell us about some of the new technologies in food safety that you're excited about. And if you have to go any more than explaining the red RCA Jack fits in the red receptor, you're going to probably have to give us some more details.
Well, yeah, thanks, Jason. You're right. I do like new technologies. I've spent my entire career hoping to make food safer. And so when I see new technologies that are on the horizon that will make foods safer, make them taste better for consumers, it's a win-win. There are a number of different technologies that we're looking at that would enhance the quality of foods going forward, as well as make them safer. It's not to say that some of the foods that we have now are not safe, but for instance, you have the tried and true canned foods, which have been around for a long time. The science is known well, but people are preferring to have something that has a little bit more fresh-like taste and perhaps weighs less, so that it's more sustainable for the food companies as well. But we have such things as pulsed electric fields, for instance, where you actually put electricity through the food in something like a soup or some kind of drink that ends up killing the bacteria that would cause spoilage or that would cause foodborne illness. And so that's also enhancing the quality of the product because it doesn't have to be heated up the same way a canned food does. We also have new technologies such as pulsed electric light, where just bright light, especially in the ultraviolet range, does a great job of surface sterilizing, and so we'd use it for such things as flowers or nuts that could be rotated where you don't have an organism actually inside. And then we have some that are actually much more commercially applicable today. And the one I can think of as the best example is high pressure processing. And what high pressure processing is you actually put the food in a vessel and then crush it to the depths that you'd have in the bottom of the ocean. Now what that does is it creates a little bit of heat in there, but the pressure itself helps kill bacteria. The good news is it doesn't have the same effect that heat would have on the product as well, so the quality is much better. And I brought a couple examples of some products like that. One that's on the shelf right now, it happens to be sliced deli meats. You can see they're in a package, and most of the viewers would probably have seen these and not realized this was a new technology. A few years ago, we had problems with Listeria monocytogenes in deli meats in particular.
Right.
This technology has virtually eliminated that in some of these processed foods.
Let me stop you for a second on that example. You have it in a packet there. When is the pressure applied in the manufacture of this product? At what point in the prior to packaging? When does it actually happen?
That's a good question. What they would do is actually prepare the food, roast the food, as in this case it happens to be sliced turkey, and slice it, put it in the package, seal it up, and then put the whole package in the high pressure vessel. And then it actually is pasteurized or close to being sterilized right in the package, so when it gets to the consumers, it's pathogen free.
Where is Listeria normally introduced to a piece of sliced turkey, for example?
It is introduced in a number of different places. One is the slicing itself. A lot of times the slicers will be sort of the vehicle for the Listeria. It may be human handlers in many cases. It may be just dust from the air. So this is one way where you can actually process it and it has no chance of getting recontaminated, at least in
once it's in the packet and the pressure is applied to Listeria, if there is any Listeria,
they're gone.
It's killed.
Right.
Okay.
So and here's another example, and this is another one viewers may have seen. This happens to be guacamole.
Love guacamole.
I love guacamole too, and you can see how bright green this is.
It's beautiful.
And so this is something that has an extended shelf life. It's safer, again, organisms like Listeria, but you don't have the discoloration and the browning that you would have with typical processes that raise the temperature. So as we look forward, you can think of applying some of these newer technologies. They all have this same goal. How do we make something that looks better to the consumer, has less need for additives or any kind of preservatives in them, and also makes it a safer product? And so, again, these are things that we're working with in our institute and things that I'm looking forward to actually purchasing as a consumer in the future.
You mentioned this, I believe, I'm sure if you covered it now, but we talked about it earlier. You were talking about the packaging and how you can get a package like this, you know, and people are interested in having less additives, ingredients in a product. when you have a canned food, and you typically have that type of thing, the preservatives that have to go into it, but you have less of that on a package like this. It's more attractive to the consumer. I think that's great. It's a great sales tool.
It is, and the companies that make this like it better. They're all striving to have what they call cleaner labels with less ingredients, even though they're not harmful or they may not be dangerous. Consumers get confused by them, so the less of these they have on the label, that's preferred by consumers.
The high pressure process that you did, sort of the last example that you gave, how long has that been in use, and how prevalent is it today versus a couple of years ago?
Well, high pressure processing it's not brand new, but it's probably been commercialized in a way such as this for maybe 4 or 5 years. It's received some other attention, for instance, treating of raw oysters. Of course, raw oysters are one of those high-risk products as well. So you can take the raw oysters, put them in the high-pressure units, which does two things. It eliminates the bacterial pathogens that happen to be in there, but it also helps to open up the shell, so it has some practical application as well. And as we learn more about these new techniques, we find out they have ways of helping processing in other ways that may or may not have anything to do with food safety, but it does make for a better product.
I'm not personally a big fan of raw oysters. I probably would like them if I tried them, if I gave them a chance. But you know, you hear the stories about people who've eaten raw oysters and gotten sick. Does it affect the taste of the oyster, the texture of the oyster in any way?
Well, I'm not a raw oyster eater either, but from those who are connoisseurs of oysters, they say it changes the texture a little bit, but not so much the taste. And that's the real beauty of things like high pressure, is it doesn't really make that big a difference to the mouth quality of these different foods, but it does make it quality. It does make it a higher, safer product. But the real goal there is actually to let the consumer think they have a more fresh-like product that they would get right out of their garden or out of their local deli.
Excellent. Well, this sounds all very promising. Well, that's it. Thanks to Bob for appearing on 2 episodes of the Knife and Fork Show. Come back soon when we put another food regulatory personality in the spotlight.